inflation rate ashase se perform. And then you say the words of Dr. Kusi Boafo has been vindicated from last year. Nina no kase ejuma yene external creditors edino eno bego a long way improve Ghana yesikasem na ama eniema ebo aperform. Ene Dr. Amin Adam, current finance minister, ene Honorable Fatima Abubakar ekoye Greater Accra Town Hall meeting and have vindicated the words of Dr. Kusi Boafo regarding agreements on money external creditors ako. Na yebema updates kakra ansa na yetie the voice of Dr. Amin Adam. O say ene Ghana nkofo bebresi yeka wosoro. Nanso ohwa GDP growth His Excellency Nanado Danko Ekufuado edi $20 billion and about Ghana isikasem so. Enti ya jump from baby a one and $20 billion abeka in terms of gross domestic product. Na saa die ni no eka debt to GDP no eda so gina baby gina 72%, the same level na former President John Dramani Mahama nimre edua na GDP growth grow at 3%, no. You grow from 7% in 2019-2020. COVID-19 bebo more. After the answer so jump 4%. $20 billion. About Ghana's GDP growth, no. Need Ghana debt to GDP at a sujina 72%. Now after the SWAT say about 70.6%. As a result of Ghana yene bilateral for a core agreement, no. O match sikano ne deka up to $5.1 billion, and out of that, no, only $2.8 billion. Say from 2023 to 2026, Ghana buying any of that amount of money. After 2026, na ya shall say from now to over 18 years. Kind of bono ebeba from kakra area external creditors so na Ghana for the $13.1 billion or maybe $4.7 billion every so and 2023 to 2026 so Omasan so yi another $4 billion. They say Ghana 80 me naka eka kezi 4 billion afi die highly indebted country no omu yi sa rating every year so upgrade Ghana's currency. Eno ama Ghana sem sikasem afi di iron a stabilizer kakra going into the election year. Yehu say the entire projects ni bebre ashasiye enintie. Eno na Dr. Amin Adam, the current finance minister, say Ghana sikasem bebi ejina ni na enu mpono developmental project social interventions etima ye na eyibubuja na nkofo bebre okasafa electricity home okasafa free SHS home okasafa leap home okasafa NHIS home. Yes, Emre. Yenkoti Dr. Amin Adam, the current finance minister, Honorable Oforiata, was vindicated the words of Dr. Kusi Boafo. Over billions of dollars Omode Ache Ghana for Nkeyesi from 2023 to 2026. The new patriotic party government etimi and negotiating among the people of Ghana. Yenkodi Kuti in Sema Editudra.
Was when we had a debt to GDP of 72%. 72%. And if you add the debts of other SOEs, it took us to above 80%. In the past, the debt of the SOEs were not part of the debt profile. They were not part of the debt profile. So anybody who is doing an assessment of the debt and does not look at the components, then that person is not being just in the assessment of the economy. But even when we talk about 72%, this is not the first time we have had a debt to GDP of 72%. In fact, in 2015, go and look at the data, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio was 72% in 2015. And today, as I speak to you, our debt to GDP has gone down to 70.6%. 70.6%, which is far better than what we recorded in 2015. You know that we have done some debt restructuring recently. And when we begin to implement the agreements we have signed with our creditors, we are going to bring the debt to GDP ratio further down, achieving 55% of debt to GDP ratio by 2027, thereabout. So we haven't borrowed so much as we are being told. I was looking at the US debt to GDP ratio, 118%. 118%. And so, ladies and gentlemen, on the macroeconomic front, you all can attest to the efforts the government has made. And so if we say we have come around, then we really mean it. We are not deceiving the people of Ghana. A lot has been done, and the economy has really turned around. And we are going to even do better and better and better in the years ahead. Now let me brief you, update you on the debt restructuring, which is one of the major achievements this government has made. We decided to restructure our debts because it was one of the requirements by the IMF. We started with the domestic debt exchange program. The domestic debt exchange program was a very successful program, achieving 95% participation. And on this note, I would like to appeal to the people of Ghana to forgive us. To forgive us. It is never the intention of any government to impose hardships on its people. More so, the MPP government that has demonstrated that we want to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. And I will show why this government has, from the beginning, tried to reduce the burden of the Ghanaian people. That same government cannot impose hardships on the same people. It was a necessary, very important decision at the time that if we avoided it, our economy will not recover such as it has recovered today. The decisions we made and all the support you gave us, the people of Ghana, during the DDEP has contributed largely to the recovery our economy is seeing today. And this is why I want to appeal to you to forgive us. But also to thank you, the people of Ghana, to thank you on behalf of the president for the sacrifices, for the efforts that you all have made in participating in the domestic debt exchange program that saved our economy. And so I thank you very much for that support you gave to the government. But we also negotiated our debts with our external creditors. It wasn't only domestic debt, but also our external debts. First, with our official bilateral creditors. The official bilateral creditors are the countries that we owe: Germany, United States of America, United Kingdom. And the total debt involved was $5.1 billion. $5.1 billion. We negotiated with them and we achieved a debt service relief of $2.8 billion United States dollars. What does that mean? From 2023 to 2026, the debts we were to pay to Germany, to America, to Britain, to Japan, to China, we are not paying those debts. They've asked us not to pay. We will start the payment after 2026 at a relatively cheaper interest, spread over some 19, 18 years. That is what your government has negotiated. $2.8 billion we would have paid. We are not paying that money. We will pay it later at a lower interest spread over several years. Then we also had the Eurobond, our Eurobond holders, involving $13.1 billion. Again, we negotiated with them, we reached an agreement. And as a result of that strong negotiation, we achieved so much. Number one, they have given us complete cancellation of $4.7 billion, cancelled out of the $13.1 billion. $4.7 billion United States cancelled from the $13.1 billion. That alone reduced our debt to about $9 billion. That is what we have negotiated on behalf of the people of Ghana. In addition to cancelling $4.7 billion, they've also given us a debt service relief similar to what our official bilateral creditors gave us. This time, they gave us $4.4 billion. The bilaterals gave us $2.8 billion in debt service relief. The Eurobond holders gave us $4.4 billion. That we would have paid. We will not pay between 2023 and 2026. We will pay that later. So this negotiation, now the IPPs, you used to hear the independent power producers threaten every day that they will shut down, and this government doesn't want doomsday, because we know the effect of doomsday, particularly as we are growing the economy. Electricity is the engine of economic growth. So we want to continue to supply electricity, reliable supply of electricity. I've been debating with some of my colleagues on the other side when it comes to the power sector. And I said, I don't want to be political. I'm trying to present the economy as it is. But this one, I don't want to miss it because I used to be Deputy Energy Minister. And so I used to tell my colleagues in Parliament that when it comes to cost of power, cost of electricity, people are saying the cost of electricity is high, it's very high. When it comes to the cost of electricity, you cannot blame the MPP government. You cannot blame the MPP government. Because it is us who actually, in our history, has reduced electricity prices, electricity bills. We have done it a number of times. But the cost is high because of the contracts we sign with the power producers. The contracts we signed with the power producers were exorbitant. The contracts we signed were very high cost contracts. And on top of that, the contracts had what we call take or pay clauses. Take or pay clauses means that once you sign the contract, whether they produce energy or they don't produce energy, you have to pay them. Those were the contracts. And so we signed so many contracts. So many contracts were signed. And these contractors, they were not producing because we didn't need the power. But we had to pay them. These are the reasons why electricity cost is high in Ghana. To the extent that electricity cost in Ghana was the highest in West Africa. It took us, the MPP government, to come and say, you cannot grow the economy with such high cost of power. And so we reduced electricity prices. First in 2017. We reduced it again in 2019. In fact, the average increase in electricity power compared with reduction is a net negative under our government. It's a net negative. And so, to further reduce the cost of power, we decided that we will have to negotiate with the contractors to reduce the cost of power. First of all, to reduce how much we pay for electricity, and secondly, to reduce the debts that have accumulated as a result of take or pay clauses in the contracts. And so we have negotiated successfully. 5 independent power producers have reached agreement with the government. And once we sign off and we implement these new contracts, it is going to save Ghana $6.6 billion United States dollars. Now, ladies and gentlemen, social interventions. I want to now touch on social interventions. And I said earlier that this government has determined or demonstrated right from the beginning, 2017, that we wanted to reduce the burden on the people of Ghana. And so we accelerated the programs that were introduced by President Kufuor. The first one was school feeding program. School feeding program in 2016 covered 1.6 million children. School feeding program. This year, 2024, school feeding program now covers 4 million children. 4 million children. We've moved from 1.6 million children in 2016 to 4 million children today. So when people say, where are we spending the money? What are we doing with the money? Anybody who asks you that question, first of all, tell him, we have moved school feeding program from a coverage of 1.6 million children to 4 million children. Number 2, NHRS, National Health Insurance Scheme. What did we do? We have moved from under 9 million in 2016 to 17 million people covered under NHRS today. 17 million. From Kufuor's time up to 2016, 9 million. And from 2017 to date, 17 million. Do you see the effort? And it's not just that. We have invested more in National Health Insurance Scheme. In 2016, the government at the time spent 1.1 billion Ghana cedis. Last year, 2023, our government spent 3 billion Ghana cedis. And this year, we are spending 6.5 billion Ghana cedis. This year, we are spending 6.5 billion Ghana cedis from 1.1 billion. That is where we are spending the money. If somebody asks you, where are they spending the money? We are spending the money in NHIS. LEAP, Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty. In 2016, the government spent 49 million Ghana cedis. LEAP, which is supporting our elderly, our grandfathers and grandmothers who we want to support, to bring them up so we can reduce their suffering. The government spent 49 million Ghana cedis. Last year, our government spent 423 million Ghana cedis on LEAP. That should tell you how much we have moved in LEAP from about 200,000 to over 300,000. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now talk about free senior high school program. Before we introduced free senior high school program in 2016, the government said they were going to support secondary education to become progressively free. And you know what they did? They allocated to spend 25 million Ghana cedis. Ended the year spending 12 million Ghana cedis. 25 million, ended the year spending how much? 12 million. In 2017, when our president introduced the free senior high school, 2017 alone, we spent 400 million Ghana cedis. 2017 alone, 400